The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
Get ready for a no-nonsense approach to recovery. It's that guy who's living the dream rather than dreaming of living. You know him as the Addiction Doctor. Now, here's the Monty Man to introduce Dr. Robb Kelly on this episode of Take 12 Recovery Radio's The Robb Kelly Hour.
That's right, my friends. Welcome to another fine episode of the Robb Kelly Hour, produced here at the studios of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting. The world's addiction doctor, Dr. Robb Kelly, is on the phone with me right now. Dr. Robb, are you staying out of the heat? Is it as hot in San Antonio as it is in Oregon?
I know, it's crazy right now. Hey guys, good to see you all. Good to see you, Monty. Yes, crazy. Over 90s all week, and typical Texas will probably hit the triple digits probably in about a week or 2 weeks' time. So from air-conditioned house to air-conditioned car to air-conditioned office, that's how we're living in San Antonio, Monty.
Yeah, so it is, and I beg the listeners' forgiveness if you hear a dull roar in the background. We had to open up the audio booth and let the air conditioner run in the office to reach the audio booth, because out on the patio of Take 12 Radio, it was yesterday was 108, and it got up to 110 for a while, and right now it's about 100. So our air conditioners are all working overtime. Inside our house, it got up to 81 with the air conditioner going. So it has been a challenge, but we just keep trudging through, right, brother?
Exactly. Got to keep going. Sobriety doesn't stop for the weather.
No, it doesn't. It's no respecter of the weather. Oh, my goodness sakes. All right. Well, I have a question for you later, but you put out there that you wanted some questions. What do you got for us this month, Dr. Kelly?
Well, a few things. First of all, we're going to talk about the 4th of July, obviously, our national holiday, Independence Day, from them bloody British, first of all, which we'll be celebrating. So I want to go through a few things about, I know a few people that slip over that period, so I want to give you some strong advice how to stay out of trouble. And then we're going to be talking just in general about sobriety. And then somebody called in and says, hey, can you specify exactly what the book says and what it doesn't say regarding a higher power, a God, a supreme being, and crossing that bridge to reason. So that's what we're going to be going on today, Monty. All right,
very, very good, very good. Can I pose my question to you first?
Please.
Okay, so I sent this to you. I don't know if you got it or not, but Dave Fleming, CADC Level 2, who is my co-host on Entitled to Overcome Solutions for Life Today on the third Monday of the month. He and I got into a discussion last week, and we disagreed on something. I had made, and see if you could correct this on here. We were talking about DNA and neuroplasticity, and I made this statement, maybe I'm wrong, that depending on the work we do in recovery, in the process of changing our thinking, we can actually change our DNA.
It's a fact.
And he said, no, the DNA doesn't actually change. And I said, well, I think it does. And then he sent me this article, and I'll just read it to you. It says, a tenured professor at the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Lipton, taught cell biology to medical students. However, when he discovered that his findings were so contrary to what he was teaching from the medical text, he felt he could no longer teach dogma and blatant untruths. he chose to leave formal education and tenure behind. He wanted to continue his research and went on to perform pioneering studies at Stanford University's School of Medicine. After many years of research and study in the field of epigenetics, Lipton shared his findings in a groundbreaking book entitled The Biology of Belief: Unleashing the Power of Unconsciousness, Matter, and Miracles. In his book, Dr. Lipton drives home the point that the far majority of the time, our genes do not play the significant role in our overall health, as we've been taught. So if our genes aren't responsible for our health, what is? The fundamental teaching of his research shows that we are not victims of our genes or our DNA. We have been taught to believe by many healthcare providers and some in the media that our heredity has the biggest influence on our health. What do you say to that?
Well, my own research says that, and extensive research over 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, before anybody even looked at this, we're going back. So my studies are over 30 years. And I can tell you that once we have the psychic change and a spiritual awakening, and the guys in 1938, when they wrote the book, Delivered 39, knew about this. It's crazy because they keep saying the same man will drink again. So with psychic experience, spiritual awakening, DNA change. Now the DNA is activating, and it rises the vibration of a higher frequency to the body and the consciousness. That's what's being processed while we go through this change. Now, unless you are dedicated to alcoholism research only, you may not be looking at this. Unless you do your test on your studies of recovered alcoholics, you're not going to get the change, and you're not going to get the DNA change that we talk about. So science as a whole, and epigenetics and all that great stuff, you can dive into that and find that there may be change, there might not, for psychology, for body change, from sex, faith, female to, you can do that all day long. I'm specifically talking about the alcoholic brain when I say that. And there's a difference between the alcoholic brain and the normal brain. It's a predisposition carried down hereditary from family to family. May skip a generation, but it's there. Mm-hmm. That's my findings. Now, do I disagree with him? Well, I can't disagree, because he's obviously does his study and his research, but what I would add is, does that pertain to the recovered alcoholic who's been through this psychic change and spiritual experience and awakening? Would be my question, because my research says that it does. Ever so slightly, I may add, ever so slightly, and it also rises your vibration level, which puts us on another level completely. And maybe next month we'll do a show just on this, of explaining, what a vibration is and how it makes us act, think as a human being through normal life. But that's my studies.
Yeah, and so I agree with you, and we're doing a course right now out at the Adult and Teen Challenge Center called the Conquer Series, and it is addressing sexual brokenness in people and trauma and so forth when it comes to sexual dysfunction in particularly addicts and alcoholics. And one of the things that they teach in there is that we didn't know this before, but the DNA actually changes through the process of changing the way we think and doing specific work, that just trying harder not to act out doesn't work. That there are certain things that we need to put in place, certain things that we need to do, not just try to buck up and do better, because that doesn't work. That's like tightening the noose around your neck, trying to escape the noose. And they teach that the DNA, the inappropriate stuff can actually be passed down to your children, but so can recovery. Do you agree with that?
Of course, because let's talk about altering DNA just slightly again, because I forgot to miss out that, main DNA that changes, if it goes through magnetic fields, the heart can cause the DNA change. But listen to this, a positive mental state is required for the DNA to change slightly, a positive mental state. So when we go through the book, I know what everyone's thinking, the big book can do this. The big book, okay, I've spent over 20 years in college, schools, and universities studying the alcoholic brain. You know, one of my PhDs is in psychology, the other is in behavioral science.
Right.
But I study the alcoholic brain and behavior only. So when we go through this process, and no other process does this, you can stop drinking, you know, without this spiritual awakening psychic. You can do that by all means. But when you come out of that with a positive mental state of mind, it's very possible. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I put $50,000 on that right now, right here. Because they're not only my findings, but you can also Google them. I mean, that's the best way to go. But don't believe everything you read on Google. That's all I'll say.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I do believe the DNA changes. I mean, I mean, working in this field, we see it all the time, and it's an amazing thing, and it's definitely a gift from our Creator for that to be for us to be able to do that. All right. So launch us forth on some of the things that you wanted to share today.
So let's talk about the 4th of July, guys. I became a citizen of the United States probably about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yes,
I took it very
congratulations.
seriously. I came over to get a permanent residency card. I could have easily got married, because back in the day, 15, 14 years ago, you could do that. I would not do that. I went through the process. I paid a lot of money, and I waited about 9 months for my green card, because I truly believe that I wanted to be an American, and I took it very seriously. So when I went for the test, you know, the written test, you know, it was amazing, because I studied, because I believe in the US. I believe that this is the best country in the world. So when we went for the actual inauguration thing, where everyone says the words together, I mean, there were people in flip-flops and shorts and t-shirt. I had a suit on, Monty, and I had an American bow tie on. You know, and everyone's saying how good it was. It's not about that. It's like, I respect this country so much.
Right.
So I want to get that out of the way first, you know. But the 4th of July is obviously big with everybody. It's a huge drinking and fireworks night.
Yeah.
And my warning really is to those people who are new around. You know, once you go through the program, and we're going to talk about a big book today, because let's get real. Let's talk about real recovery. So when you've been through the program, the book says we're stood on, after the spiritual awakening and the psychic change, we're stood in the sunlight of the spirit. Now, once you've done that and done all your 12 steps and have the psychic change, spiritual awakening, you can go anywhere alcohol is served. But what I will say is, if you're still recovering, going through the process, you just have to be careful where you go, because again, it comes back to neural pathways wanting to self-sabotage. That's part of the alcoholic addictive brain that we're disposed to.
Yeah.
So you have to bear that in mind. So our research again shows that during a process, because I have no choice when I'm in my disease, I have to drink, end of story. When I go through the deal, I can make a choice, you know, because that's how bad it is, because positive neural pathways are much more increased, and self-sabotage had decreased. So we found it's sometimes 5, sometimes 8, but we called it 7.3 seconds, where you can stop, pause, and you can divert to something amazing without going down that old route again, because it's a bit like a comfort blanket when you first put it down as a teenager. You know, something dreadful happens, we go home and grab that blanket as a teenager.
Right.
So we have to be real careful, because there's so many times in our life where we've relapsed. And let me tell you guys, listen out there, relapse is not when you sit at the bar and put a drink to your lips. The relapse has happened days, if not weeks before that.
Yes.
And this is the key to watching your behavior, watching what you do. So I think I've told this story, but I think it pertains very well to what I'm going to talk about today. There was a young girl, 17, 18, in England, Manchester, and she got snatched off the side of the road. And there was a huge manhunt to try and find her. Couldn't find her. After about a week or two, they had to pull the manhunt off, and there were 2 people working on the case. So 8 or 9 months later, you know, presumed dead, of course, police car is following another car down the road, and the signal light is not working. So in England, you're allowed to stop the car for that, and you're allowed to search the car without a warrant. So that's what they did, and they found a stolen screwdriver. When you do that in England, you're allowed to go back to the house with no warrant and search the house for more stolen goods. So that's what they did. During the search, they found several stuff that was stolen, and then they saw this box in the corner, probably 12 foot wide, 4 foot tall, and they said, "Hey, you've got more tools in there, haven't you?" And he went very quiet. They smashed the lock off and opened the top, and there was the girl that was missing 8 or 9 months ago. And he used to take her out every day, and you can imagine what he did to her, and put her back and give her food. So the policewoman ran over, and she grabbed this girl. She was alive. She was bruised and battered, but she was alive. And she helped the lady step out the box, the young kid, and she put a coat around her. Okay, guys, what's the first thing she did? She got back in the box. And that's the same with our recovery. It's the only thing we know.
Right,
so if you're
right.
putting yourself in dangerous situations, so I'm going to this do, and everyone's thinking, but I'll be okay. Really, please check yourself. Because if you're still recovering, or you've not even started yet and still suffering from untreated alcoholism,
yes.
if you are the real alcoholic, there's a good chance you're going to drink at that party.
Absolutely. And I see this all the time with men that leave the Adult and Teen Challenge program prematurely. They haven't even gone through 2 weeks of the 12-step workshop, and they think they got it. Oh, I got it. I turned my will and my life in step 3 over to the care of God, so now I've got it and I can leave. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you haven't even scratched the surface yet. And inevitably what happens in every case is we either see them again, we read about them in the paper, or we end up being a pallbearer at their funeral.
Exactly.
Yep.
And, this is a true story. It's going around as a joke at the moment, or many years ago when I first came here, but I sponsored somebody, it was a patient. I'm sorry, it was a patient. And he died of alcoholism, went missing, didn't turn up for his appointments, and he died of alcoholism. And his blood level was so high that he just poisoned him to death. And at the funeral, there was a bunch of us talking after with the wife and everything, because we all knew her. And somebody said, "Hey, did you ever think of taking him to Alcoholics Anonymous?" And Mom said, this is what she said, and I swear, she said, "Oh my goodness, it wasn't that bad."
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
That's the thought pattern around Alcoholics Anonymous. It's still a dirty word.
Yeah.
But
what a shame.
I don't know. For me, it's the only way that you. And again, going back to what you said, you can do your full steps of 12 steps. But I always thought there was a piece missing from that, and that's what I researched and discovered, that through the brain and the brain change and the remapping from the trauma. It's a lot of trauma to do with alcoholism. Alcoholism has got hardly anything to do. Alcohol's got little to do with alcoholism.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most of you who've recovered will know about that.
Yeah.
Because when I put it in my body, it's done. I mean, that's the end of it. It's not the beginning. The beginning is when you get pissed off with somebody at work because they're still using that stupid Christmas plan that the mum bought on Christmas, and it's July. And there's your relapse, guys. There's your relapse right there. But we don't look at it like that. We concentrate too much on the alcohol. And I started a movement. You did. We've got plenty of friends out there, Chris Ramers of this world, started a movement that says, no, we're not powerless over alcohol. Because step 1 says we were powerless. I like that. Past tense. I'm not powerless.
Past
today.
tense.
The book says we have a defense.
Yep. Amen.
It's amazing.
Amen.
I know.
Preach it, brother.
But what we're teaching in Alcoholics Anonymous is that we're all powerless over alcohol, people, places, and things.
Yeah.
That might be the case when you're untreated, but once you go through the proper program, be careful here, and get a full knowledge of your condition by getting somebody to take you through the book, then you're on safe grounding. But what I found in many meetings I came to, especially in England, but plenty in Texas, is they're not teaching from the book. They're teaching from what their sponsor told them. They're heavy drinkers who sits in the corner and brags about 50 years sober, especially when the young lady comes in or young ladies come in. It's like, that's what we teach people. It's like a coffee meeting. I walked in many meetings because I'm obviously from another country, and everyone's in the little cliques, and nobody came up to say hi to me because they're all in them little cliques, scared of what they might be missing, scared they might miss a joke of the day. It's crap. It's 3% success rate. It's terrible.
It is.
We both know it's 100% around Akron and, stuff like that. It's like it's gone to crap.
Yeah,
and
it's
such a shame.
There was a day we had door greeters. I mean, you didn't even get past the door without a cup of coffee in your hand, a handshake, and a big book handed to you. I mean, whatever happened to that? We don't have anybody at the door anymore.
No,
at least not around here. It was considered a form of service work that carried great honor to be the door greeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now we started a group around here called Bring Your Own Big Book. It's BYOBB. In San Antonio. Look us up if you're around, guys. And we've taken it back to the 30s and 40s. We really have. You can bring your kids. You can bring your spouses. We have someone to look after the children while they're playing, and we get a big book. And if the women come in, we do to the wives. It's phenomenal how the women get really involved and they identify with each other. And it's just we have loads of food, loads of drinks. And we just make it, and it's a 90-minute meeting, not a 60-minute, like in America, 90 minutes.
Right.
And we have a book study before that I teach, but it's phenomenal. But I really want to get into that big book now because I'm excited. But let me just talk you through, if we have enough time.
Okay, we got to take a short break. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll pick it up. More with Dr. Kelly when we return. Don't go away, my friends. Hey there, it's the Monty Man, and do you want more of this great show, the Robb Kelly Hour with the Addiction Doctor, Dr. Robb Kelly? Not a problem at all. We have a dedicated webpage just for you and this particular show. Visit us at take12radio.com. Click on the Recovery Workshops banner, and there you'll find the Robb Kelly Hour. Click on it, and you can listen to the archives of each of the Robb Kelly Hour shows just for you. Now, back to our show with Dr. Robb Kelly. All right, we have returned. Dr. Robb Kelly, the Addiction Doctor, is on the phone for this episode of the Robb Kelly Hour. All right, let's pick it up, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Monty. So let's talk about 4th of July. Stay in a safe place if you can and still recovering. I'm talking about the new guys around, man. Let's try and keep them safe, guys.
Yeah.
Is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the guys who's recovered, and we have to be careful who we hang around with. So don't set yourself up for a failure. If somebody says, come on, you can come out, we'll make sure you only drink orange juice, there's a red flag there. Definitely a red flag.
Sure bet.
So you have to hang around good people. And good people in general. If you hang around with 9 depressed people, guys, you will become the 10th. End of story.
Yeah.
Because our brain mirrors what other people do all the time, from kids upwards. It's a great sales technique. It's called the mirroring technique, which is not just, it's very, very behavioral, but it also, there's a mirroring part of the brain that really makes it work. And once we start doing that, especially when other people are drinking around us and we're in that hopeless state, and we're possibly going to drink, just have one with you guys. Because once somebody gets a drink, and then they all want everyone to drink around them. Come on, we'll just have one, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
As we know, it's never been okay.
No.
If you're a real alcoholic, and it never gets any better. Don't set yourself up for a failure, guys. Just bear that in mind, okay? And then, obviously, find a sober party if you're not good. I can go anywhere today, but if you're still, once again, still coming around, find a sober party, find a friend that you can celebrate with, and stay away. Listen, guys, sober is sexy. Sober's a new drunk. Let me tell you, I know more pop stars, football players, actors, celebrities, A-listers than I can count, because sober is the deal now. They've just opened a sober bar in San Antonio. It's the new future, believe me. So don't think that you're being left out. Don't think that you can't enjoy life, because it's coming. Of course you can. Because when I look at my life, I've done some crazy things from Elton John and Bowie and Queen and all them guys in houses and penthouse suites doing things we shouldn't be doing till today. I remember sat in that room one day with Elton and saying, I'm looking, there's 4 or 5 other guys there, the A-listers, and I'm thinking, does life get any better than this? It has to. Otherwise, I'm going back there. So if you're new around and you're going through and you're trying to keep safe, stay safe, you've got an amazing life coming ahead of you. I guarantee it. It's definitely come ahead. So stay safe, guys. and we can celebrate sober. Believe me, we can.
Yeah, good word, good word. Okay, you were going to talk about the big book again, right?
Yeah, because there's so many people text in and email me about, there's a new sober movement. There's a new, whatever it's called in California. I don't even know what it's called. I forgot, sober something, or I can't remember. There's a movement going on where you can take certain drugs and it's okay. It's kind of not. I frown on alcoholics who said they recovered drinking energy drinks. It's like, why would you do that? And people go, well, it's just the same as coffee. Well, it kind of is, because it's all about caffeine. But I've never gone into a store and asked for a saucer and a cup full of vodka. I go in and ask for beer in the can. So when I'm drinking, like non-alcoholic beer, when you're drinking it, it's not about the alcohol. It's about your behavior around that.
Yes. And let me tell you a little story really quick. I was into the energy drink thing big time. And there was these energy drinks that were out here in Oregon called Jokers. And they were very delicious. I mean, they weren't the typical Red Bull, that odor you get. They were very tasty. And I had these giant cans. I would bring 2 big cans to the AA meeting, and I would sit there and drink them. And I did this for probably a good 3 months. And you got to remember, I mean, I'm one of these meeting guys. I'm in meetings a lot. So I was drinking a lot of these things. And this gentleman who was my service sponsor, he wrote something on a matchbook. He folded it up and he shoved it over to me during the meeting. And I opened it up and it said, "Are we drinking for the effect?"
Oh.
He busted me right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so true.
Yep.
And yet we do it. So easy, and we think we're getting away with it. Anything that changes the way you feel, we have to be careful on.
Yes.
Now, I've seen so many people relapse over that, especially people with addiction problems around drugs. But alcoholics with non-alcoholic drinks and bangs and all that great stuff that, Red Bull come out, you can take it in small quantity. These huge cans that these kids are banging back in meetings, it's like, it's a matter of time, And then you have to ask yourself, if you're on certain drugs, can you have a spiritual awakening and a psychic change? Because it does remap the brain, and the neurons start to fire like crazy, and then over a period of time with alcohol, they deaden, and the only thing we can do on a daily basis is self-sabotage. So then we got to go back to the book. Many people who come up to me, I do it every single time in my meeting. Who did a step 10, 11 last night? 6 people put their hand up. There's 40 people there. Guys, how are you staying sober?
Right.
How are you doing this shit? Because 99% of everything you do is amazing. So 1% that'll kill you every single time.
Yeah.
So the book says, at the Good Samaritan every day. The book says that the grouch in the brainstorm is not for us. The book says that we placed ourselves beyond human aid. The book says we step on our toes of our fellows and they retaliate. It's all this stuff that will catch us if you're not careful. So there was many years ago, many years ago, there was a father who brought his daughter to us. And after the second week of being with us, she disappeared, decided to go and disappear. And she used, obviously, and the police picked her up and she got jail time. So the father wanted to sue me. He wanted to sue me for malpractice. So our lawyers got on and they were laughing. When they were going through this, it's like, this is the funniest case I've seen. It's just crazy. The guy was a lawyer. This is crazy. I mean, you can counter offer with 250,000. We'll get it. But I said, when's the case? He said, it'll be about 12 months, 16 months out. I said, just pay him. And my guys looked at me and said, what? I said, just pay him, because I can't sit with that for 18 months, thinking this and thinking that. Get rid of it. Get it out of brain. I don't want to self-sabotage over that. So it's a case of following that to the T, because that was anger and that was the grouch from me. I was miserable because of the situation. And it's all about, the book is so far advanced. It really, talking about psychic change, it's neural pathway change, neuroplasticity they were talking about 70 odd years ago. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah. That always amazes me. See, and that's proof right there that God's hand was in it from the beginning.
It had to be, because there's over 350 God words in the first 164. There's more God words in We Agnostics than any other chapter available. So you have to look when it says God is, either is or he isn't. And the most misquoted line I think you know what I'm going to say, Monty.
Yeah, I do.
In Alcoholics Anonymous, is I can choose a God of my own understanding. It
Right.
never says that. He said you can choose a God as you understand Him, and that it has to be a God. There's like, I don't know, there's like 2,200 gods. Just pick one. You know, pick one. It doesn't have to be Jesus. It doesn't have to be Buddha. I mean, just pick one. That's what they're saying. Your own conception.
And
But you can't.
And Dr. Kelly, now, isn't it interesting? People that don't believe in God, and yet they were worshiping at the idol of the bronze bottle, right? They were worshiping at the idol of the syringe or the crack pipe. That have become their gods. I mean, we have these little gods that we worship all the time: our work, our spouse, our accomplishments, our own intellect. And yet then we have the gall to say we don't believe in a power greater than ourselves. It amazes me to no end.
Well, what amazes me even more, man, is when you go, well, I can't believe in God. You know, I'm not a religious guy.
I'm not religious,
well,
right?
It's not. It's a spiritual guy. Well, I'm just not there yet. Okay, let's close the meeting. Everyone stands up and does the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Including the guy that didn't believe.
I know. I love
Right?
it. I love
it's like,
it.
wake your mind up. You know, you're either in or you're out. The back of the bus says, abandon yourselves to Him. Don't be sticking any toes in the water here.
Right.
The captain says, abandon ship, jump in with both feet. And it's
Yeah.
the same as the book. You know, it's like, it's not a big deal. I'm taking a sponsee through the book at the moment to get a full knowledge of our condition, and she's so worried about 4 and 5. And then I told her how the amends are supposed to be made, and we can't hurt anybody. And God, she was just, everything came out. But people are scared because what they hear in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I shopped around 20, 30 meetings around San Antonio until I found a half decent one. And then you got the self-sabotagers coming in. Don't mention God in the rooms. You can't mention Jesus Christ. Obviously, page 11, second word.
Yep.
And all this stuff. And eyes would roll. And, you know, you get small comments. But listen, God gave me everything I need. You know, I'm 280-pound ex-fighter and bodybuilder. I'm just over 6 foot tall. You know, if you don't like what I say because it's the truth, we'll step outside. We'll soon find out. You know, it's like, this is the truth, like it or not. But don't be whispering and giggling in the background, because the book says that I bow before no man. I will. If you step over that invisible line and try and put me down or ridicule me, then I will step forward with all the power of God and go, hey, that's not acceptable with me. It's called a boundary, by the way, guys, if you're out there.
Yeah.
You know, so somebody said the other day on Facebook, Rob, did you block me? I said, that wasn't a block, buddy. That was a boundary.
That was a boundary.
There's a huge difference, you know. And this book creates our lives for the future. It teaches men to be men. You know, to do this program, you know this, Monty, and a bunch of our guys know it. You know, it takes a man to stand up and do this.
Yeah.
It really does. You know, I'm not making amends to him. You know, he did this to me. It's like, you've got to do it or you'll die.
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
I want to speak to the chapter, We Agnostics. This is probably, for me, this has got to be one of my favorite sections of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I, as a Christian man who worships Jesus Christ as my higher power and my Lord and Savior, when I first opened up the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and I saw this chapter, my first response was, we agnostics, well, that doesn't apply to me, until I read it. And then I discovered that I'm agnostic several times during the day. I mean,
Exactly.
You know, and that's why I appreciate the title, We Agnostics, because I've got all the faith in the world when all the bills are getting paid and the weather's nice and everybody's kind and loving and we don't have any issues that day. But boy, throw a wrench in my day, watch how I start doubting God and I become agnostic just like the next guy. So I really appreciate even the title because it makes the playing field level. But the thing that I want to point out about that is staying agnostic. The point of the book is to move on from there. The point of the steps is, this is, you know, you can choose anything to make a beginning, but the point is to move on from there, to grow and to mature and continue in that on a daily basis. And I see so many people, they just stop dead in their tracks simply because they're abstinent. And that's missing the point, isn't it?
And I think they think that's enough. So, look, guys, if you're listening out there and you're still unsure, listen, God is circumstantial, okay? I'll tell you why. I'm traveling over from a plane from Manchester to San Antonio a few months ago, maybe a year ago. The plane, it was pouring down in England. Pouring down. It was no land in sight. We're over the water. And all of a sudden, the captain shouts, please put your seatbelts on. We're going through some rough turbulence. And all of a sudden, there was a sharp crack of lightning and thunder, and we dropped about 10,000 feet. Now, everybody went, you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was holding the seats. They took a breath in, and you could hear a pin drop. And my friend next to me leant over and he said, hey, Rob, I bet there's not many agnostics on this prayer program now. Not many atheists on this program. And I'm like, yeah, that is exactly it. When it gets bad enough, you'll believe.
Yeah.
No human power can really have. But listen, you're in We Agnostics, you go down 10 lines and it tells us, okay? It says, probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. It doesn't say maybe. It doesn't say, well, you can take a choice. It says only a spiritual experience will conquer. It's a blatant promise, from We Agnostics. And it goes on to say so much more. Our human resources are no good. And then it talks about lack of power. Now, people reading through that, look at the P in that power. It's a lowercase p. So lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power, still small p, while we're trying to find that it can live. But it had to be a power. See, that's a capital P.
Yes.
Guys, capital P, greater than ourselves, obviously, but where's find its power? Then he tells us exactly what the book is about, its main object. Your main object is not to get you sober. The main object says, well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power, there's the capital P, greater than yourself. Listen, guys, are you ready? Which will solve your problem.
Yes. Amen.
Bang! I mean, it can't be, it just can't get much clearer than that. And we want to argue about God. Listen, it's like me going to a math lesson, and I've got my math book with me, and I go in there and I say, hey guys, I was just looking at my math book here, 2 and 2 equals 4. Whoa, 2 and 2 equals 5. But it says 4 in the book. Don't worry about that book. This is how my sponsor told me. It means 5. And that's what AA's become. It's like nobody reads the book.
Yeah.
Well, why do you call yourself a recovered alcoholic? When they ask me, I say, why haven't you read the book? Oh, I've read the book. I've always been recovering. I don't want to jinx it. Jinx it? This ain't a bingo. This isn't bingo, guys. What do you mean jinx it? Yeah, this is a serious God in your life and will be phenomenal and will never let you down and your whole life will change. Jinx it? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy, but that's the way we have with a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and I think what they do, I think they read that one sentence that says once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, and they misinterpret and take it out of context, and they say, see, we'll always be recovering. And that's not what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They talk about the traits and everything. I'm always an alcoholic. I have the traits there.
Yeah.
I have everything there.
It's just a medical. It's just a medical condition. I'm allergic to the chemical, right?
Exactly. And you know what we're actually allergic to? In the alcohol, this is once again my study. It's ethanol in alcohol that the brain reacts, and we become allergic to.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
When the ethanol acts with our neural pathways and brain remapping, that's the allergy, and then it goes into our body. Now we're sick if we don't get it. So once the book said, we can't leave the physical state out of it because it's not. We have the mental obsession with the physical allergy. So, my mental obsession always won out. It'll be different this time. Nobody will know. Well, I deserve a drink. And as soon as I took it, I was in a different world. All bets were off. I didn't relapse for a day or 2 months. I relapsed and blackouts for months.
Yeah, sure.
Months. And it wasn't enough to stop me. And when they took my kids off me, it wasn't enough to stop me. And when I stabbed my wife 3 times, it wasn't enough to stop me. And when I lost everything and was homeless, it wasn't enough to stop me drinking.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to understand, that this is not about putting the alcohol down. This is about a mental injury. We don't call it mental illness. A mental injury that you need to look at. Somebody asked me today, Monty, say, okay, big shot, what's the gateway drug? because we all know it's marijuana. I said the gateway drug is trauma, my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Exactly.
Yeah. You bet. So obsession does not conform to reason, does it?
No, without. And this is what people say. Why is it a disease? It's a choice. No, it's a predisposition. It's a chemical imbalance, and damage neural pathways.
Right.
So, what can you get over this? Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something now. Listen very carefully. You cannot drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. You may become an abuser, you may be a very heavy drinker, but it does not make you an alcoholic. 10 DUIs do not make you an alcoholic.
Right.
A trip to the hospital because your wife's scared and they send you to A does not make you an alcoholic. Now, come in. The only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. But do me a favor, guys. If you've not read the book, had no experience, but you're there because you've got a signed paper, shut up when somebody comes in the door dying of untreated alcoholism. That's the only thing I ask from you. And let's get the real message on to these guys. It's about God. If God isn't in that room, it's just a bunch of guys kissing in the morning with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Can a person drink themselves into chemical dependency, though?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so.
that's
And
different
there's a
than
difference.
alcoholic. That's different than being alcoholic, though, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It is,
Yeah.
definitely. And you can become, just absolutely drawn to it. It becomes a habit, then it becomes kind of addiction, and then, you've got a habit that doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. When I put chemicals inside my body, I act differently to the guy. Now, you ask any real alcoholic, and they tell you when they took the first drink. I asked one girl in my meeting the other day, when you take your first drink, and she says, when I was about 2, and I had a toothache, and my dad gave me whiskey to get rid of the toothache. I remember that. Of course we do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a child next door, hey, when do you remember you drinking? I don't know. But I know it was horrible. I know that much. Alcoholics like, no, give me some of that. I'm done.
Absolutely.
And then we tend to isolate and become dependent upon it, and then we cross that invisible line to alcoholism.
I can tell you what I was wearing. I can tell you the room in the house that I was in. I can tell you the brand of the the brandy that I was drinking. I can tell you the color of the cabinets in the kitchen that I took from my dad's liquor cabinet. I can tell you what my mom and dad, what room in the house they were in. I can give you blow by blow details of my first drink, and I took it because I saw my dad taking a sip of Christian Brothers brandy when he came home from a hard day at work. He never even finished his glass, and it was mostly ice anyway. And I thought, oh, that looks like a good idea. And I poured myself a huge glass of straight Christian Brothers brandy, and then after I drank it, I drank another one. I was drinking alcoholically, and I didn't even know how to spell alcoholic.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Right from the very beginning.
And this is the thing that we need to teach people about, because, there's been a movement out there for 10 or 20 years with a bunch of guys me and you know again, and other people around the world. But it's just a shame that we get ridiculed when we go in these meetings and we try and quote the book, and people kind of, giggle and turn us back and roll their eyes and everything. It's just a shame. But, for the first 10 years of my sobriety, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I carried a book. I traveled, and I taught the book study as in a full knowledge of condition, and I didn't care what you did or what you said. I'm getting a bit old now to be doing that. I see friends of mine do it, and it's awesome because you have to do it. But I've stopped fighting everything and everyone because if you want, listen, they talk about a 3% success rate in AA, and I truly believe that's true. But listen, the people that come in who are suffering, who really want to get well, who meet a guy who knows what he's doing, there's a 100% success rate there. Always has, always will.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Provided he follows a few simple instructions, right?
I know, and it's easy, but I don't fight to stay sober today, and all the people I know have recovered doesn't fight. But what's absolutely amazing, and I'm going to get you down there, Monty, to come to our meeting that we do Saturday morning, when everyone goes around introducing themselves. Mm-hmm. It's like, I am Bill, recovered alcoholic. My name's Jim, recovered alcoholic. My name's Peter, recovered alcoholic.
Amen.
Now, to the people coming in, they're going, oh my goodness, I want some of that. I want So they grab somebody and ask them how. We take them through the book. Could do the steps in 2 days, as the book tells us to do. After step 5, go home and go over the first 5 proposals.
Yeah.
Come back next day and finish the deal. And all of a sudden, you'll be going around and you'll see this guy, and you know somebody's working with him, and all of a sudden they say, my name's Billy and I'm a recovered alcoholic. And it's just amazing to hear that they've crossed over.
One of the saddest things that I ever witnessed was a gentleman, we'll just call him Bob, and he would introduce, just a great guy. I mean, everything about his walk in the program was really right on, but it got lost when he introduced himself. He'd say, "Hi, my name's Bob. I'm just a drunk."
Yes.
I'm like, "What?"
My goodness.
I said, Bob, are you drinking? No, I haven't had a drink in years. Are you drunk? No. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to get my words out. I'm absolutely drunk. My words to him is, how many people have you killed with that line?
Exactly.
Stand up, be counted. Well, be the man that God wanted you to be. Bow down before no man. Be the leader. Be the powerful. Be amazing. Have followers. Start living the life beyond your wildest dreams. But announcing yourself, it's like me announcing. I mean, God, it's like me announcing myself. I've got a mental illness. People will back off and go, "What? Oh no, sorry. I used to have a mental. No, we're all about one day at a time. It's in the day. You were drunk today. No. So why are you telling people? Give them no hope.
Yeah, when I walked in the 12-step rooms, I was looking for a solution. Thank God somebody showed me the chapter. There's a solution. But you'd swear that isn't even in the book these days.
I know. And the definition of solution is the act of solving the problem. So these guys and me and you and all the guys we know have this book as a point of reference.
Yeah.
We can fully recover from this. But people say, is there a cure for alcoholism? And I go, no. And they go, oh, really? Chill out. There's no cure for the common cold or food poisoning.
Right.
It's
I
the
love
same
that.
thing.
I love
Put that
that.
spin on it. Stop feeling me, because my alcoholic brain loves that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a great line in the book, and people say, "Hey, listen, Johnny, don't be so hard on yourself, okay? Take it easy. Just come to meetings." The book says we must always be hard on ourselves, but considerate of others. And this is the misquotations that are happening, that are weakening Alcoholics Anonymous, because people don't want to talk about the real recovery because they haven't done it themselves. They've kind of read the book, but they go to these, I mean this in the greatest respect, but if you're a gay guy, where else can you get 50 guys on the same hour in the same day every week? You can't. So I see a lot of them guys coming, and God bless them. Many have recovered. Many go there because they've got nowhere else to go, and that's awesome. But don't start talking shit if a serious guy is dying of untreated alcoholism, and that's what it's about. The main object of the book, it talks about it time and time again it talks about precisely show others precisely how we have recovered. And it also says in the book that his attention should be drawn to you, a recovered alcoholic. I was at home once, and somebody brought me a rickety tape out, and he's like 2:00 in the morning, banged me. I was so annoyed at this guy, and he said, "Listen, you got to listen to this." And I put it in, and this guy was like, "My name's Chris Raymond, I'm a recovered alcoholic." And this is way before I come to America. And he said one line, and it woke me up at 2:00 in the morning. I wanted to go out to a meeting there and start preaching, because he said, "Alcoholics Anonymous should be a pet rally." And I'm like, holy moly, that's exactly what it should be. And from then on, I'm always the one. I mean, there's loads of us doing it, and beautiful millions of guys. But if the meeting is going downhill, I'm going to stand up and say something. And if you misquote the book and there's a newcomer in it, I'm going to pull you on that, unfortunately, guys. I'm going to pull you on it.
So let me ask you your opinion. What do you think of specialty meetings that are just for, just for men, just for women, just for LGBTQ, just for this, just for that? Are we missing the boat by doing that?
Of course we are. Why are we separating ourselves? We're already separating ourselves from the world as alcoholics.
Yes.
The book doesn't say let's go in different meetings. Oh, this is a gay meeting only. I'm like, what? I'm coming in, guys. I don't care. Meeting's a meeting. This is a black meeting of alcoholics. What?
Right.
What? how can the color of your skin define if you can recover from alcoholism? Where the hell's that? Isn't God the same? Isn't the meeting the same? It's just ridiculous. Is what it is.
I think technically that's even a tradition violation when you start doing that.
Yeah, I've not seen that, but yeah, and it should be. Yeah. As well, it should be. Stop
you're disrupting the unity of the fellowship when you do that. You're separating people. You're dividing people. And how does a house divided against itself falls, right? And so when I see that, it really concerns me. I get that people feel more comfortable with people that believe politically, believe morally the way they do and all that. But all that, there's a reason we talk about outside issues. All that stuff should be left at the door. When we walk in the door, we're people that are seeking recovery from alcoholism, period.
I know, and I think the percentage rates are going down because of that as well.
Yeah,
you know, it's just crazy. Listen, all my life I wanted to fit in. Once, if you took me too late to say, and I've seen them, white musicians from England only. You know, I'm separating myself from everybody. I'm isolating in this little group, which is 5 people in, and I'm not getting the full force of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the book, by the way, guys. It isn't the meetings, we're the fellowship. So why are we doing it? It's like going, hey, listen, so there's a math class across the road just for gay people, and there's another math class around the corner for white people. It's like, isn't this the same sums we're doing, the same equation? Well, yeah, but, you know, I just want you to feel, I want you to, stop it. When did we stop worrying? What the book says is started worrying about people's feelings. We're not here to save your feelings, guys. We're here to save your life. And if you're pissed off with somebody says about whatever subject, and you get annoyed by that, grab a sponsor, fire the one you've got. It's not got you to the place you need to be. Because as sponsors, that's our job, is to get you to a place where and whatever anybody says does not affect you, and you stood in the sunlight of the spirit, and you see the world for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. Them women stuck in bad marriages, but it's gone on for so long because they were drinking themselves to bed. That woman who give up on seeing a kid because she's drunk, when she gets well, she wants to see a kid. Right you do, and right you should. It's the life of me. Stop splitting us up, guys.
Yeah, amen. All right, we are out of time. 4th of July, take heed. Use some wisdom there. Your DNA does change when you do the work. The big book is, it is what it is. You may disagree with it, but you cannot disagree that it says what it says. And there you go. So a no-nonsense approach to recovery simply means we're following the directions of what works the best. Right, Dr. Robb?
Exactly. And listen, guys, I know there's plenty of you listening out there. If you're on the 4th of July and you're not in a great place and your sponsor's not available, listen, 214-600-0210. Call me. That's my cell phone number. It isn't my receptionist. It isn't my assistant. It's my cell phone number. I'll give you a chat for 5 minutes. That will change your life. Just between me and you as sponsor and sponsee. It's amazing. Don't be alone, guys. 4th of July.
There you have it, folks. From the words of the world's addiction doctor, Dr. Robb Kelly. You can visit his website at drrobbkelly.com. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. I look forward to this time, the Monday of the month when it's my turn, because I'm sat here for half an hour just praying and hoping that I say the right thing, because I'm human, guys. But I love this. I love the Monday. I love that I have an hour here to shoot the breeze and pass a real message on to people out there who need to hear it.
Amen. And we love you for doing so. All right, my friends, our closing song is by Karen Taylor-Good. It's all about, if you think you've got limitations, guess again. You need to change the way you think about this. And it's in a scenario of a guy going fishing. Check it out. Here's Get a Bigger Pan by Karen Taylor-Good.
Out there on the bridge, he bagged small one after small one, put them in his little fridge. Well, then he caught himself a whopper, and I watched him throw it back. I couldn't help but ask him, hey man, why'd you do that? He pulled out this little skillet and said, see, fisherman more times than I can count. Every time I felt unworthy, ran myself down. I'd get afraid and wouldn't play what I had there on the line, thinking that the big fish couldn't possibly be mine. But there's another fish to fry, and there's another day. Next time I hook the big one, I won't let him get away. I'll get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan, 'cause I got big dreams, for heaven's sake. Won't throw those dreams back in the lake. It's not that I can't have it all, I've just been dreaming way too small. I'll get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan. Okay, I've got it figured out, for self-esteem as well as dreams and trout. Get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan. When you got big dreams, for heaven's sake, don't throw those dreams back in the lake. It's not that you can't have it all, you've just been dreaming way too small. So get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan. Get the bigger, get the bigger, get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan, get a bigger pan.
The music of Karen Taylor Good. You can get her music on Apple Podcasts or Amazon. Listen, a special thank you to our wonderful co-host, Dr. Robb Kelly, the world's addiction doctor. For more information about Dr. Robb Kelly and the services that he and his staff provide, visit his website at robbkelly.com. All right, until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow, meow, meow.
Woof, woof.